to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
We're from all over the world, and nothing comes close to us geeky girls. Once you role play with us, you'll be typing with love. Comic Con girls, we're incredible. Slave girl, Leia, bikinis on top. Star Wars chicks so hot, we'll melt your lightsaber. Comic Con girls, we're illogical. Fine flesh pierced, we got lots on top. Wizards represent, now put your wands up.
Welcome back to the Geek Speak Radio Show. Talking to David Glanzer, Director of Marketing and Public Relations for Comic Con International. Thanks to our friends, the Screen Team, provided that little song right there, Comic Con Girls. I thought very apropos for having David on today. So, David, like I was saying before we took the break, not a complaint, but I have just an observation and something new on the WonderCon webpage, which is up on ours on geekspeakradioshow.com, by the way. And that's the My WonderCon schedule application, I guess you call it.
Oh my gosh, I know what you're going to say. What are you going to
I can't figure it out.
I can't believe I'm actually admitting this, but I just got an iPhone. And I had a BlackBerry beforehand. I got the iPhone because I wanted to get apps and all that. I know there's apps for the BlackBerry as well. I am so tech unsavvy that I can't even figure out an iPhone. How sad is that?
Not too sad. I'm in the same boat.
But
you know
it's
what?
pretty pictures.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, thank goodness at least there's big pictures and buttons I can push. But short of that, I mean, I'm looking at our schedule right now, and I know people who have who've done this, and apparently it's supposed to be really very easy, and I'm trying now to figure it out. But I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say.
When I first saw it sounded like a good idea. Like, hey, I can actually put myself together and
it's a great
schedule
idea,
everything.
yeah.
I signed up, everything, and then I tried to create one. And like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to use a piece of paper.
Just gonna take
I
notes.
do have to tell you though, we tried this at Comic-Con last year, and it was hugely successful. We had because apparently it's downloadable to multiple platforms. It doesn't sound like I know what I'm talking about. Multiple platforms, but and I have to tell you, we've gotten a lot of people saying, "Hey, we really like this. It's much easier for us to navigate." So we tried this for WonderCon as well, and I think because I can't figure it out, it just means I'm on the far side of the bell curve. But I think maybe if I spend a little bit more time on it, I might be able to wing it. But these kids who are much younger than I mean, this is apparently fairly easy for them. But I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of listeners laughing at us right now. So if you guys can figure it out,
we're going to show up and they're going to point at us.
No, they're going to bring you an abacus and say, "Oh, well, you can't count either, can you? Here's your ancient counting device."
And sadly, that is true also. One thing I forgot to mention, Christy, when you mentioned about get guests and all that.
Yes.
I totally forgot. We have a really, really cool program on Sunday, which is first look at Doctor Who, the new series. I think we're the first convention ever this year to show the new season. And one of the somebody who wrote one of the episodes, a special guest this year is going to be Neil Gaiman will be at the show. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh my God, that is so beyond exciting. That's like the understatement of the century.
I know. So talking about burying the lead, huh? And by the way, Neil Gaiman is going to be there.
Yeah, you remember he wrote that little series, The Sandman. I don't know, maybe you've heard of it.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm thrilled.
He looks like a comics rock star. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, he's pretty much the Madonna of the comics world. Absolutely. I've already got my TARDIS T-shirt ready to go.
Perfect.
Let me ask you, because I'm interested in the whole and how because it's a year-round project, right? Setting everything up for all of the conventions, Ape and Comic-Con and WonderCon.
It really is.
So do you recruit panel experts throughout the entire year, artists, etc.? Every time you go to a comic book shop, you're like, here, I do this, and come to San Francisco.
Well, it's funny. What used to happen was we would do a great deal of outreach, and that is really, try to look at our professional guests and just do an outreach to different people and saying, hey, look, we have these ideas for some programs and some panels. Would you be interested in sitting on that? We've also asked for submissions. Now, one of the great things, and it doesn't make the job any less difficult, but now we get a lot of people who submit ideas for programs and panels. So that makes the job a little bit easier. but it's still difficult because you have to say no a lot more times than you can say yes. And it does take a year. I mean, with the 3 different shows we have, in addition to programming, there's logistics, there's securing the venue, there's security, there's hotels, there's any number of things. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, when the show ends, when one show ends, we're, already neck deep in the next show on the calendar. So it's a full-time job, I'll tell you.
I have another observation that I made from this year's schedule. Not a bad thing. The Hollywood and TV presence, it's not as big as it was last year. Last year, it seemed like, especially on Saturday, it seemed like the guys and I, we spent most of the time camped out in the big exhibit where they had the TV and the movie panels. Right. Did you guys do that on purpose this year, or no?
No, I mean, it's funny because one of the things I think we used to get a little bit of heat for was people would say, "Oh, you're all about this or you're all about that." Well, when we first started, and we've talked about this before, when we first started in 1970 with Comic-Con, our focus had always been comic books, film, and literature, and that continues this day. And what happens is sometimes there are programs that studios say, "Hey, we'd love to do this." Sometimes we say yes, sometimes we say no. Sometimes it's a fit, sometimes it's kind of a stretch. So it varies from year to year. I mean, we're going to have Jon Favreau's going to be here to talk about Cowboys and Aliens. We have the Green Lantern stuff. We have, something for the Immortals. I mean, I think it'll be a nice. We have something from V, Human Target. I think it'll be a nice programming in terms of television and movies, and also comics and toys and games and all the stuff that everybody loves. It just, it varies from year to year. One of the things that's always a constant, I always like to say, is WonderCon or Comic-Con or even Ape. You always know kind of what you're going to expect, but it's almost like a river. The river may cut out a swath in land, but the water is always different. And it's the same thing with our shows. We have the building blocks for the show, but the content is always going to be different.
Yeah, and same thing happened kind of at Comic-Con last year. It was down. The Hollywood presence was actually down 10%. I think it was. I read it somewhere.
I don't know. We actually do keep track of that, but it's funny because at Comic-Con, the Hollywood, I think, programming is never more than, I think, it's like 14 to 18% of the programming that we have. And most people think it's like in the 50 to 60%. It's just that, Hollywood has a lot deeper pockets than some of our other people who come to the show. So a lot of the promo stuff will be written about a certain guest or a certain program or stuff like that. But if there's I don't know if you know Tom Spurgeon from the Comics Reporter, but every year he always does this thing where he says, I know the Hollywood stuff is at Comic-Con, it's great for them, but he spends his whole 4.5 days just doing comic stuff, and he has a ton of stuff to write about afterwards.
The Geek Speak Radio Show. We'll be right back.